Hello, this is Lisa LaRose here on Connect to Love on PRN-FM, and I'm joined by the amazing Michael J. Russ. I want to welcome you, Michael, and I'm just so excited to be able to speak with you today. How are you?
I'm awesome. It's a great day. Rain this morning. It's not raining now. A little windy, but, who knows? We might have an awesome sunset if we're lucky.
That's a beautiful thing. Michael, I so appreciate you collaborating with me on so many different things. And sometimes we come across a film or a book that has such an amazing and powerful message that really, truly speaks to our heart. And for whatever reason, it has fallen under the radar and nobody has seen it. And who knows why it falls under the radar? Perhaps maybe it's because we have so many choices. There's so many different options available to us. Or maybe we're just not ready to see it. I don't know why that is. But for me, I discovered a movie a few weeks ago that came out in 2012 called Hector in the Search of Happiness. And I will tell you, I was so elated and so excited. I couldn't wait to share it with Michael. And because Michael also embraces life, he got the movie and he watched it. And Michael, did you enjoy it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I said we have to do a show on this movie because it is, I think, a topic that explores really what it means to be human, what each of us search for. Sometimes one of the things that they said is you cannot touch happiness. It can be elusive. And what I really loved about the movie, Hector is a psychiatrist who, in the way they put it in the movie, and I wrote it down because it said he had a very satisfactory life. And he liked it that way. And I think there's many of us who have a satisfactory life. We get up in the morning and we do things a certain way. We brush our teeth with the same hand. We get up at the same time. We like to make our bed. We have our routine in the morning. And as Hector, he had his world was tidy, uncomplicated, and he took comfort in the predictable patterns. And I think that all of us, I know even with me, I have a very unpredictable life. But for most of us, we do have these patterns that we follow. And there's just so much that's packed into this. And Michael, I know you were just like me, that you watched the movie not just once, but twice. And I think I'm halfway through my third go-round because it's one of those movies that makes you feel good. And I think at this time of year, we all need a little bit of extra joy and love and happiness in our lives. So, Michael, I would love to hear what inspired you. And are you happy today?
I'm ecstatic. Yeah, I'm ecstatic. It's been I have the opportunity to make the day what I want it to be. And I encourage people to make the day what you want it to be instead of letting the day unfold. Make it unfold the way that you want it to unfold, based on your own vision, based on the way you feel. There's always going to be something that's going to be, always a wrench that's going to be thrown into your intricate system, right? However, it's as the teacher said, it's how you deal with those little speed bumps. Do you focus on them? Do you make them bigger than they need to be, or do you just say, "Oh, that's different," and just keep moving on, right? And that statement, by the way, "Oh, that's different," is that I learned. I think a week ago in the conversation with I believe Carol Collins and the teachers. That's different. Great way to approach things. Great way to make that little speed bump less of a problem. Now, I'll just give you my little theory very quickly on happiness that I profess profusely on my own podcast, Life Moves. That is that happiness is not a thing, something that's out there, something you search for, something that you earn someday, something that you may experience once in a while. It is an innate flow, a feeling that's within you, a joy that's within you that you were born with. You came from happiness and love and peace, and you incarnated here in this body, dealing with this, what the teachers say is and others have told me, is labeling it as sort of a very dense environment that can be fraught with all kinds of challenges based on what our thinking is, what choices we're making, the thoughts that are going through our head in any given moment, because thoughts become things. What we focus on, we get. What we put focus on and put emotion into, we get. And generally, the unfortunate aspect of that is that people focus on the negative, put feeling and emotion in the negative, and wonder why they're still getting negative, why they're still feeling negative feelings and emotions. And it's because what you're doing is you're investing in the wrong thing, investing in negativity, and because you're hung up on it, don't know how to deal with it. So you have to invest in it, keep talking about it, keep focusing on it, keep thinking about it, amplify it, and tell a million friends about it. Put it on social media. You got to tell everybody about the bad thing that happened, when you really should be minimizing it as much as possible. It's just a thing. Oh, that happened, right? It's just something that happened. And if we can do that, we're going to open the door so that more happiness and joy and love and fun can flow from within us. That is my feeling. Now, this movie, which is, by the way, we should say that if you have Amazon Prime, not to, belabor the point, but it's available on Amazon Prime, I think, right now for free. I did find it on Plex.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's free on Amazon Prime right now. It is available on Hulu. If you can go through Hulu to several sources like Apple TV. You can pay for it if you want it. I think it's like $2.95. It's available on Peacock if you pay for it, I think. However, it is on Amazon Prime. It's free and you can watch it a dozen times. And I definitely this is a movie that, in my view, everyone should watch this holiday season. I think you should watch it once a month to remind you, of what's important. However, it's a great holiday movie. It has nothing to do with the holidays. However, it has everything to do with the holidays, right? Because the unfortunate part of Christmas and or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or anything else that's out there that people are celebrating. The unfortunate thing is that happiness gets boiled down to something that you achieve once you have finished your list of things you're going to give. You got gifts. You got the right gifts for everybody, what you think are the right gifts for everybody, because you really don't know how they're going to take what you give them. But you invested way too much in the giving and not enough in the journey of what you're going to give. And I like to focus on the journey of it, where I'm kind of really thinking about the person, and I don't know what's going to make them happy, but I'm keeping an ear open, listening for something that perhaps they say they need, a little hint of whatever. And then the whole idea is it's not about the money. It's about the journey of finding that thing, the journey of getting it, wrapping it, and putting a nice card with it, and putting it under the tree, so that when that person opens it, you have a story behind it, that a happiness story, how you got it. Not just that I Googled it, or I bought it on Amazon and I got it in 2 days and I wrapped it and gave it to you, right? Sometimes you have to search for something. The journey can be fraught with a little bit of, hey, no, we don't have that anymore, or something else that creates sort of a challenge. So you have to, think outside the box. However, this movie was awesome because it was not only, it talked about, it was a visual transformation of an individual, Hector, who is played by Simon Pegg. It's also sort of a transformation of his girlfriend, because the two of them have a relationship that is, I could say enabling. Could that be a good word?
Yeah, I think that's probably right. I think, he was, she was his mother in a lot of ways. There wasn't a lot of romance. I mean, it was, I don't know.
Yeah, well, okay, there was some romance, okay. Yeah. But, however, you're absolutely right. She was basically playing the part of his mother, making sure that his clothes are straight, that they were washed, that dinner was made or breakfast was made, or that his tie was tied. She tied his tie for him every morning. I'm going, wow, that's interesting. All kinds of different things that enabled him to be stuck where he was,
right?
Instead of expanding outside of who he was. In other words, instead of growing. And that was an interesting way to begin. And because they're both successful people. She was very successful in her profession, and he thought he was successful in his profession. However, he discovered that that wasn't the case, and that's what the movie was about and how it unfolds. But the aspect of this that I really love is that journey that he undertakes from the very beginning, that it is fraught with all kinds of challenges and new enlightenment, I should say, and exposure and serendipity. That's the other thing. Lots of serendipity. Serendipity.
That's a beautiful word for that, Michael. Absolutely.
Yeah. Lots of serendipity from the very beginning. Something that, and I think about this, I go, I'm not going to spoil the movie or anything like that, but I'm saying, would most people have succumbed to letting someone else pick your hotel and pay for it and take you out to dinner and do all these things? I mean, most people would say, no, I don't do that. They get all caught up in the guilt, but he just flowed with it. It was really wonderful. He made a decision trip to flow with it, right? To flow with whatever happened, because he was seeking what other people thought was happiness. Well,
yeah.
Why were they? What was happiness to them? And I think that's a great question. It wasn't what's happiness to me. He's not searching for the happiness for him. He was seeking what happiness was to other people, And so, again, not to spoil the movie, but there are 15 things that he wrote down in this notebook that his girlfriend had given him, and I thought his doodling was really phenomenal as well. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is and how that expands and how other people can what the other people can take from that. So you've got the list too, right? You got it?
I do. Okay. I have the list too. And I think just real quick, I wanted just to let the audience know that he was a psychiatrist who on a daily basis was listening to how unhappy other people were who were seeking happiness. And then at a certain point, he realizes that he has doubts about his own happiness, and he recognizes that he's dissatisfied with the person that he's become. And that's really what sparks his journey. He knows that he has to do this. This is something he has to embark on his own. His girlfriend says, "I can't go with you," and it really is. So she gives him a notebook, so that he can record things. And this is what Michael's speaking about, is this wonderful list that he compiles. And I'll let you.
In tandem with that, let me just say this. In tandem with that, what was really interesting was that he was helping people be happy, and he didn't understand what happiness was to himself. He didn't understand what it was. He hadn't ever taken the time in life to figure out what happiness was to him. And this is that contrast in terms of alchemy, that element of contrast. That's what I thought about when in this process of he had no contrast. He didn't know happiness or sadness. He kind of couldn't know what one was, because he'd never experienced the other. And during this trip, he experiences hardship and other things too that help give him some contrast, so that he can actually recognize what happiness is to him. And that is the beauty of it. So
that leads right into number one.
Yeah, number one, making comparisons can spoil your happiness. making comparisons. And when I read this, I thought about something that I know I've encountered in my life, in my 6.5 decades, in relationships of every kind. When it comes to romantic relationships, friends, family, whatever, we posit these people comparisons. In relationships, I call it grass is greener. Maybe the grass is greener on the other side of the street, right? You've become unappreciative of where you are, or it's become stale. You've allowed it to become stale. You got caught up in the negativity, focused on negative things instead of the positives, and you're asking yourself, wow, what would it be like to be with somebody else? I think there was a song I was listening to, I can't remember what it was, last week that kind of posited that thing. How would it be with somebody? It's a song by, he did breeze in, George Benson. How would it be with someone else? How would it be? You find yourself thinking, how would it be with someone else? And the song's called Never Give Up on a Good Thing. Never give up on a good thing. And that's the lyric in it. I find there's a story in there somewhere. I've seen the guy live at least 4 times. However, I can imagine that everyone who's been in a relationship for a long period of time kind of goes through that. So making comparisons can spoil your happiness because it draws your focus away from where you are, what you're doing, the journey you're on, the person you're with, and focusing on the positives to focusing on the negatives, and then wondering, okay, how would it be with someone else? Would they not have these positives? And it just kind of spoils everything for you.
It does, but I also think, Michael, it's even comparing yourself to others. So if you're in a relationship and you should happen to, as Clara did in the movie, come across an old picture and look at a picture of an old girlfriend, and you think, oh, well, I don't measure up like that. I'm not as skinny, or I'm not as tall, or, geez, I'm not a redhead, or whatever it is. And we
She's not hiding the picture of me.
Yeah.
Why hadn't I seen this picture? How long have I been with Hector? And how come he didn't show me this picture, right?
Right. Right. And then you start making comparisons. And then I think that erodes your own sense of happiness. Because those wheels go around in the head. We don't really need to know all the details of what it is, but it literally erodes at your confidence levels, and then you start second guessing, and you become maybe a little defensive or paranoid or whatever, instead of just understanding.
Turns your happiness, your smile into a frown. It just immediately turns it into a frown. You start seeing life through a different lens. A lens of what ifs and why fors and what's going on here, and just takes happiness, just your flow of happiness instantly just cut off. Now the second rule here: happiness often comes when least expected. I thought that was really, really awesome. I think we were talking about that just a second ago when you just let go and let live, and as they used to say in the 60s, you simply just enjoy the journey, right? You partake of you're on a journey. We're all every day on a journey. So you're just taking time to feel the happiness and the joy when you least expect the thing that actually brought it to you. Like this movie.
Here I am. I was walking the dog, and I look down, and I see these little tiny purple flowers growing out of the sidewalk. And this is in November. And you know what? It made me so happy to see those little purple flowers. I'm like, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Who would think, right?
Oh, yeah.
Big smile on my face.
Who would think that beautiful flower would be there in November where you live in Pittsburgh? I mean, who would think that, right? I mean, I think last year there was snow on the ground, wasn't there?
Yeah,
I mean, that's El Niño and El Niño, I guess, is kind of crazy. But it's true. And when you least expect it. And to me, I look at this as I kind of expect the unexpected. I look out for it. I remain aware of it. Of it when it occurs. I almost like law of attraction. I draw the unexpected to me because I'm always I'm always wondering what cool thing is going to happen next.
Well, I think you approach every day like that, Michael. I think it's a beautiful gift. And I
thank you.
Would encourage everybody to do that when you wake up in the morning. Like, what am I going to learn today? That I didn't know before.
Right.
I mean, there's so many opportunities. Oh, absolutely.
The concept of when's the next shoe going to drop? That concept to me is just, if you're looking at law of attraction, that what you're thinking draws to you, what you're thinking, what you focus on, then you're really asking for a perpetuation of negativity. You're expecting something negative instead of expecting something positive. I'm in for what's the miracle that's going to happen next? What cool thing will keep that happiness flowing from within me as a collective, the teacher said last night in the class that the teachers put on, and I just love this. I had to write this down because it was just so darn cool, and that was something we talked about before the show. Are you love, peace, and happy walking? Are you happy walking?
I love that. I'm going to write that down.
Are you happy
walking?
Yeah. Are you happy walking? When you're walking down the street, are you happy? Are you living your life? Are you moving from one place to another happy? Or are you concerned about something or worried about something or thinking about something in the past that made you feel some negative feeling or emotion? Being present.
It
Happiness
is 100%.
really only happens in the present. It happens here. It happens now, right? It's flowing through you in the present, not the past, and really not the future. It's here, right?
Yep.
And your mission, according to the teachers, is to remain happy. And I've always said this, like that's what alchemy is about. When that bump comes by, a speed bump of some event that occurs, and it kind of jars you a moment. How quickly can you get back to the happy part? How much focus you're going to get? You can invest so much into it that the happy is just dissipates completely for a day, a week, a month. How can you do that, right?
Sometimes I think it's even like walking down the street and, you trip on the sidewalk and
start laughing.
God. And you start laughing. Or if you're with somebody, you really laugh and you think, wait a minute, just caught up and grabbed me. And maybe that's the moment that you need to kind of bring yourself back and go, hey, lighten up, Francis. I think that was from Strike or something. One of those movies, Lighten Up, Francis. Yeah,
I like it. It. It's really
love, peace, and happy walking. Gotta love it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Love, peace, and joy walking.
It actually is a good segue into the next one, Michael.
Yeah.
Many people only see happiness in their future, right?
Yeah.
Which is, to me, again, it's like bringing it back in the present. We don't know how happy we're going to be tomorrow. We know how we are today and what things that we can do to bring us joy. And when we spoke with Carol, we were talking about the bubbles. And guess what? I was at a little shop the other day, and there was on sale for $4.99 this little bubble maker blower. Mm-hmm. It's in the shape of an elephant. And I thought, oh, my gosh, I got to buy that. I've got to be able to have an automatic bubble blower in my house. What a grown-up thing to do. Absolutely. But it makes me so happy. I couldn't not buy it.
Have you ever seen a dog chase a bubble?
Oh, I have.
So much fun. So much fun to see a dog or a cat see a bubble and then want to go touch it, find out what it is, and it just it explodes, and they're like, where did it go? And it's like it's hilarious. It's hilarious. Anyway,
well, that's a good metaphor for the future too, because it may pop. What we think that is going to make us happy is that it might just blow away and pop, and there's something else waiting in the wings that can even make us happier than we even imagined.
Very good point, and that is a perspective that we definitely want our audience here on PRNFM to adopt. I think about that all the time. Why see the glass is half full when something that's made you really joyful goes away? Why not expect that something better will replace it? That's where I come from. I was like, I don't want to, again, it's how much energy do you give that change that occurs? How much negative energy do you give it? Do you give it, you have a choice, negative or positive, right? Up or down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you got that choice. So, and we'll get to the comment that the black woman in Africa made on the DC3 here in just a little bit. That kind of ties with that. I thought the question was really quite brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
But number 4, many people think that happiness comes from having more power or more money. Okay, there's been studies about this. At what point are you happy financially? And I think they came to, if you were making $75,000 a year, that was sort of like the point of diminishing returns in terms of happiness. More money than $75,000 a year in terms of income didn't make you any happier than if you were making $1 million. I obviously disagree with that profusely because just for the simple reason that more money can buy you more freedom. It's how you perceive it. It's a perspective, right? That determines whether or not, in my view, having more money or less money. I know people say, "Oh, if I had $1 billion, everybody would be after me, and I wouldn't want $1 billion because everybody would be coming to me begging for money." And I'm going, "Oh my gosh, what in the world are you talking about?" It's like, right. You have the ability to actually make choices and decisions to lavish those friends and family and those people you don't know with things that can really help them move to the next level in their life. Things that they help them in ways they don't even know. They can help.
And money can make things like the Sheldrake Trust, which helps the African wildlife, specifically elephants, makes that possible. It employs the people that preserve and make sure that they're safe. I watch a lot of the different animal rescue things. That money can go into research to help maybe find a cure for Alzheimer's or other diseases. Money is an energy. It's an energy. It's a frequency that, when channeled for positive things, can really elicit change in a good way.
And multiply. Let's not think about that.
And multiply.
Wealth multiplies. Mm-hmm. When you have the right mindset around wealth, it can multiply. I think even greater. There are, yes, elephants need help. Rhinos need help. I'd go to Africa and meet and talk with the people who are doing it. And find out what their actual needs are in that moment, because you'd have the ability to help them in ways that somebody who from over here is just working with a NGO, would not do. So It's kind of interesting. You can actually go see people, talk to me. It's, again, happiness is about the journey. Getting on a plane, flying first class, staying in a great camp, and from there venturing out and seeing, treating yourself with luxury, treating yourself with the best care, and then going out and experiencing what the problem is firsthand. There was a great movie. There was a great movie about an encampment about Rob Lowe starred in a movie, I believe that was on Netflix, that was about an elephant camp. And it was really. I'll get the name of it for you. Maybe I'll have it next show. But it was about a woman who needed a change, and in her life something wasn't going well. She left and went to this camp, and she was pretty highbrow, and she started seeing elephants, feeding elephants, being introduced to the babies, and seeing how the camp worked and how they helped elephants, and she fell in love with the place. I mean, she fell in love with Rob Lowe too, but that's just the movie, right?
That's the movie.
But the whole idea is that it's when you experience something firsthand, you understand in a way that you cannot read about. Because reading an article, just all that does is just give you the highlights. It doesn't infuse. It can't infuse you with the kind of feeling. And so That was a cool movie. I just absolutely loved it. I love watching it. It's one of those feel-good flicks. Another movie you can watch during the holidays that has nothing to do with the holidays and everything to do with transformation and the alchemy that people go through in their in life, and how you can transform yourself. It's an example, I think, of how you can transform yourself.
And you can throw on a backpack, kind of like what Hector did in the movie. At one point in his journey, he was getting ready to get on a plane. Again, I don't want to spoil it, but there was first class, there was business class, there was economy, and then she's like, the sales agent said, "There's you." You couldn't touch the ground,
right off the floor. But I think you said you'd been on a plane that was a chicken run, chicken or goat run, something like that.
I was on a train.
This is the DC-3. I've been on a bus like that. There's chickens in the back, and there's a goat, and there's you think of yourself, oh my God, I've been there and I've been in first class, and obviously I prefer first class. However, the experience of being in goat transit is a chicken and goat transit is something that you think and talk about and laugh about.
You'll never forget it. Yep.
The rest of your life. People say that you didn't like it at the time, and I tell people, I said, listen, don't take this to the downside in terms of negativity. You're going to be laughing about this for the rest of your life. You're going to be telling people you had this experience.
The lady he was seated next to on that very fortunate flight, he was really nervous, and she said, "Well, it's an old plane. It hasn't crashed yet." And there goes.
And then she said, "If we make it, if this plane lands, if this plane lands, I want you to come over and have some of my sweet potato stew." It's like that. Yep. If this plane lands part just goes right over his head. It's kind of like it's just funny. The fact that she said it so nonchalantly was just amazing, right?
Yeah,
just
she's holding her tender baby. Yeah, very sweet.
True. If this plane lands, I want you to come over.
Yeah,
That's
but what a great pivot point, right? And
absolutely. Here's the question, though. Listen. This is I'll have to do this now because we're not going to get to this in this episode. If we don't, we'll have to do another one. But on the DC-3 chicken flight, going from one African city to another, she shares this very central question. He asks her about happiness and relationships, and she goes, "This is the question you ask. Does this person bring you predominantly A, up, or B, down?"
No.
I was laughing. I was cracking up.
I know.
How many people do you come across who have people in their life that bring them down, and they just, I don't know. I talked to a friend of mine on the phone the other day, and unfortunately his mother, his uncle, and his stepdad only served to bring him down.
Oh, my goodness.
And I said, note to self, don't talk to mom, your uncle, or your stepdad, okay, willingly. Don't call them, okay? If they call you, be polite, be loving, be happy. But don't call them. If they bring you down, why would you put yourself through that? Why would you? And the only question he asks is, how come they're like that to me? And I said, I don't know. And you're not going to know either, because you're not going to be that informed, and they're never going to tell you what the real root cause of it, because they're afraid that they'll hurt you. They're only going to give you, they're going to placate you. So, note to self, anybody in your life that is bringing you down, you only got two choices. You either stand there and just listen and let it go in one ear and out the other, don't invest in it, or you just simply find new friends. I don't know. I mean,
100%.
Do they bring you up or bring you down? If you have more people in your life that bring you up than bring you down, you're going to be happier. That's like an automatic, because you won't have those speed bumps every time they call you and talk to you. You see them. It's just crazy. And for her happiness was the idea, and she said this, and it was really, really quite poignant and wonderful. She says, for her, happiness is home, family, and the idea that her children can live a normal life with no bodyguards taking them to school, and of course, sweet potato stew. And you're thinking about this, and in contrast, I've been in parts of the world, and I know you have too, where things aren't rosy in comparison as I would picture them, as I would do them. To them, it's what they know, and they remain happy in the midst of whatever they're dealing with. Right? Whatever they don't have that we think they should, some convenience, modern convenience of some kind. Why don't you have one of those? You're like, what am I going to do with
clean
that?
water for one, right?
There you go.
How many people in this world don't have clean water?
Walking 5 miles to get clean water. Now, do they want to walk 5 miles? No, nobody does. However, it's about you walk the 5 miles because that's what you do, because that's where you are, and that's what it takes, right? And it becomes normal in your life, and you don't beat it up all the time. And I find people who, and come across people who focus on instead of the 5 mile walk and what it actually accomplishes in getting the water back, they just beat themselves up relentlessly because they don't understand why they have to walk 5 miles to get the water. So the experience for them is so bad because they frame it that way, right? Mm-hmm. Why do I have to do this? Why do I have to get up and go to this job that I can't stand every day? And I'm like, if you can't stand it, why don't you find a new job, new career, do something? You're wasting your life away on something that doesn't bring you joy, doesn't let the happiness, joy from within flow, right? So same thing with that.
That's actually connected to his one point: avoiding unhappiness is not the road to happiness.
Oh gosh! Oh yeah,
Monk wisdom. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Monk wisdom.
And he said, Hector says, I'm not going to be here. I may not make it back here again. And he's so I might not see you. And then the monk turns and says, the moment of death is indeed uncertain. Which was totally not.
He's not talking about death.
Hector, right. He wasn't even thinking about death. All he wanted to know was when can I'm not, it's so remote out in the middle of nowhere. I might not see you again, but we don't think about that. So it actually is a good anchor into being happy with the people you're with now in the present moment. Yeah.
Find something good about it. Stop focusing on the bad. We have in the United States right now, we've got, you have politics. You got people deciding whose friend they're going to be with based on politics, political or religious beliefs, and that's ridiculous. People are people. Mm-hmm. Food is food, and it warms the soul. It doesn't matter who it comes from, and a smile is a smile. And I've learned this in my travels. I don't go to a Muslim country thinking I'm going to be blown up or shot. I don't look at the people in the country as wanting to harm me. I'm there, and what I see is people who want the same thing who this woman on the plane wanted. She wanted herself and her family to experience a normal life. Just a normal life, away from the strife that normally is associated with living in a third world country or a second world country, right? So, number 5, let's just look at this. Sometimes happiness is not knowing the whole story. Very interesting. How did you take that one?
What I find so fascinating, it goes back to the old adage, sometimes somebody not knowing something isn't going to hurt them. And it's not an outright lie, but sometimes there's things that people feel that they need to be too forthright with, and it's hurtful. And sometimes it's better just to, I think, say things a little bit kinder ways, or just not bring it up. If you know somebody has an issue with a family member and you happen to run into them, you don't go, guess who I ran into. Yeah. We had a great conversation.
Right.
And that could be hurtful to somebody because they don't have the same relationship that you do, and there's a sense of betrayal or whatever.
Happens you can
all
say,
the time. When somebody says, what did you do today? Oh, I went here to XYZ.
Yeah.
It's not important.
They don't need to know.
Somebody. Right.
Here's the interesting thing. Happiness, there's a certain point in the movie where this comes out, and I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to say when it is, but the people will know. The interesting thing about this is that everybody has a story. Everyone has a story. And when the question is, if you relay your story to somebody else, are you focusing on the positive aspects of you, or are you focusing on the negative aspects, some of the things that didn't make you feel good about your life? Because I say this all the time, and it's, I don't know who gets it. However, nobody wants to hear about your problems. Everybody's got something they're dealing with. Everybody's got challenges that they're dealing with in life. And people, in my view, it's not that I'm insensitive. I just want people to focus on what's right, what's going well, what's working, instead of what's not.
Because then you attract that in. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Because
I think that Hector felt that too. He listened to it day after day after day. Mm-hmm. And the one woman says, "I'm at the end of my rope," and she's like, "Rope." He says,
"You think you're at the end of your rope?" Yeah, that was a great scene. Great scene.
But I think it echoes through, because even on his journey through all of these different things, and he didn't really know where he was going. Yes, he was going to these countries, but he didn't know the events. You can plan a trip, but you really don't know what's going to unfold. When I went to Costa Rica, we were staying in this beautiful hotel. I was with a friend of mine, and we were going on an ecological tour. And we walk in the room; it was going to be our room, and she sat down on the bed. And it broke. Smashed it all. She wasn't a big girl. And we were like, "Oh my God, what just happened?" And we were in stitches. We could not compose ourselves to call the front desk to tell them that it broke into all these different pieces. But you know what? That would be are you okay? Those kinds of things. But I mean, and the whole trip was like that. It was filled with unexpected little things that, were just so funny. We laughed the whole time. It was great.
I think that's absolutely hilarious. That is hilarious. And that's, you don't know what's going to go on. And that's the beauty of life. I found what I loved about Hector's journey is that all he said is that I'm going to China.
Mm-hmm.
He was going to Shanghai, bought a ticket. He had he got a hotel reservation, but beyond that, he had no idea what the hell he was going to do. Excuse my language. Whatever he was going to do, right? He had no idea what was going to go on, and it started from the very beginning that, instead of with his seat and with this and moving up, it's just fantastic. It is it's a lesson in the fact that that we as individuals, what we focus on is what we get. That's the reality that we create.
Right.
What we focus on is the reality that unfolds for us. That reality can allow happiness to flow, or it can stifle it. That's all there is to it.
Right. And I thought it was interesting, Michael, that you bring that up, because there was one patient, and I think the character's name was Roger, who was on medication, and he's like, "Roger, did you take your medication?" And Roger was the antithesis, I think, of Hector, in that he would be dancing in the street. He'd be doing all of these things and just being free. Now, he was, quote unquote, needed to be medicated, but he was fairly happy for the most part.
Yeah.
And I think that that's we can't judge other people's happiness. What makes them happy?
No.
And we
I
need
didn't
to
think it was that bad. I mean,
no, I didn't.
I thought he didn't conform to British social standards, right? As somebody who wasn't boisterous, didn't act out, didn't run into the street and start dancing. There are certain social norms that are expected of everybody, everywhere, right? And I found it. He was artistic. What was interesting was what made him act out in the beginning and totally be transformed at the end. And some people can be very highly empathic. Not empathetic, excuse me, sorry. Empathic. My apologies. Empathic, where they pick up on all the negative energies of people and it impacts them in a very, very, very negative way, right? And so recognizing that somebody is very empathic, and let's work on how to deal with that, how to manage that, rather than putting him behind, in some sort of, he was in not an asylum, but he was in a mental hospital with, and he was getting guidance from a man who had no idea what happiness was, and he was trying to help this guy out.
Right.
And the beauty of the end is that little snippet of how wonderful, how different the relationship is, because he is different.
And that goes to number 9, which is happiness is being loved for who you are. And number 8, which is happiness is answering your calling, because I think the two are very integrally related. And I know that you are loved for who you are, Michael. And I know that you also find happiness in pursuing what is your new calling. And every day, it's like, whether it's you work in the stable or work serving your clients or walking on the beach.
Meaning the stall is
all of that. Well, no, it is. I believe
it's fun.
Your new calling.
I've got story after story. Oh, did I tell you that the horse knows how to open the latch?
No, you did not.
Did I tell you that? Did I tell you that when we drive up, the horse wants that carrot and knows it's going to get a carrot. Wherever it is in the pasture, it's a race to get to the end of the stall before you do. Right? That's the way it is.
Wow.
It's a 30-year-old horse, one-eyed, suspensory, done. She's lame. But she's so cute because she gets a mosey on coming from wherever she is, and I have to jump out of the car and run into the stall and close the outside stall door before she gets there. Otherwise, it's 1,600 pounds of horse in a 10-by-10 space, and you're trying to clean it. So the interesting thing is that I'm in there, I'm cleaning the stall, she's messing around with the latch and uses her tongue to open the latch. The door opens. What? I called her Houdini because when she starts, she can do it. She can unlatch the latch and open the stall door. And I'm like, no way. So I had to say, no. You can't be doing that because I need to do what I need to do in here, okay? So I give her a little carrot and kind of appease her for a little bit. Then she starts kicking things and getting impatient. But I just said.
But that's so sweet because you love her for who she is.
Oh,
with her one eye.
She's a darling.
She'll outlive us all.
She'll outlive us all. I'm telling you, that's what's going to happen. She'll outlive us all. Anyway, all right. So, okay. So, there's one here that we missed. We kind of bounced around, but it's a mistake to think that that happiness is the goal. It's a mistake to think that happiness is the goal. They had it as number 7, but there are several different ones here. But I wanted to.
Yeah, I think some of the list was from the book, and some of the book.
Exactly.
The book they changed it in a little bit in the movie.
But it's great though.
Absolutely, it is.
It's a mistake to think that happiness is the goal. That is, I think, probably hits the nail on the head for most people's concept of happiness that I've come across. I'm not going to say everyone because I've met everyone in the world. However. Putting happiness out there, as I was saying at the beginning of the show, something you earn, something that you get when something occurs, or that you achieve a certain milestone, or whatever it may be, right? When I find the love of my life, when I get married, when I have a kid, when I blah, 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 right? I'm going to be happy then. Reach that goal. Oh, that's a really good one, right? I'm going to be really happy. When I reach that goal, I'm going to pop a cork of champagne, and I'm going to be the happiest person on the planet. Okay, got there, been there, done that. No, that's not the case.
Right.
If you didn't enjoy that journey, it's very disappointing.
Yeah, you get your new car, it makes you happy, but then the next new models come out, and you thought, oh, shoot, I should have waited. I should have waited for that, or it's the newest phone. Oh my gosh, this has XYZ feature that I couldn't live without. Why didn't I wait? Instead of just being happy with the technology and the amazing fact that you can reach somebody halfway around the world through this little device.
What it can do. The differences now between phones are so minimal. In the last, I think, 4 or 5 versions, 4 versions of iPhone. It's really the only thing that's changed is really the camera and some of the programming. Other than that, I'm looking at I have an iPhone 6 and an iPhone 13, so I noticed that the upgrades to the 6, when I say, hey, Siri, both phones say, yeah. If I want something off the 6, I say, here, Siri, and I get it, just like I do off the iPhone 14, right? The camera's different. But, bottom line is it dials, it has the same apps, it shares apps on both phones. What is the difference between the two, right? So
I don't know. It's not sweet potato stew.
Yes,
I can just tell you that.
Not that.
And that was number 10, by the way, sweet potato stew in the movie. Sweet potato
that is
stew.
So happiness. That's right. Sweet potatoes. Happiness is sweet potato stew. It's the monk wisdom was phenomenal, and here's I wrote down 3 things that were said in the movie. This monk said, and one of them we said already, which is avoiding happiness is not the road to happiness. The second was the moment of death is indeed uncertain. We said that. But the one that was really, really profound, which was kind of tandem with the first one, is more important than what we are searching for is what we are avoiding. More important than what we're searching for is what we are avoiding. And, that's a quagmire for an entire show. However, I kind of take it as we can be unhappy because we're avoiding dealing with something, because something is eating away at us. Something that has gone... a question has gone unanswered, a task that has gone undone, something that we need to just be honest and just in a very loving and joyful and happy way and kind way, empathetic and compassionate way, discuss with someone, right? Discuss with someone. Sometimes we can avoid... Absolutely. Yeah, we can avoid doing the thing that would make us happiest because it's unpleasant to us. We've branded it as unpleasant, which makes it even harder to do at that particular point, more challenging to do, more difficult to use that vernacular, which I find very interesting. Now, how much time have we got left? Because I'm not paying attention here because I want to talk about the professor. We
have probably about 5 more minutes.
Okay, let's just cover the professor real quick. That's exactly
what I was going to say.
I'm going to read what the professor told his students. It's really interesting, and it was Christopher Plummer. So he's an awesome orator. I'll just try to be like him. We'll see. Happiness is a state of being, a moment of untarnished joy when everything inside and outside our world was all right. And now we've become a colony of adults where everything is all wrong all the time. It's as if we're on a quest to get it back. And yet, the more we focus on our own personal happiness, the more it eludes us. And it's only when we are engaged in life's activities, inspired, engaged, communicating, dancing, learning, that we experience happiness as a byproduct, a side effect. And he ends with, no, we should concern ourselves with the pursuit of happiness. Not with we should concern ourselves with the pursuit of happiness, but not with the pursuit of happiness, but with the happiness of the pursuit. I think I missed a word there. But we should not concern ourselves with the pursuit of happiness, but with the happiness of the pursuit itself. That journey, that walk that we take every day when we get up out of bed, that's really, where it starts. When you look at your cat, I look at my cat, who's probably sleeping on the bed at the same time I want to get up, is, out like a light because she's been dancing around the house all night or doing, I don't know what, having a party by herself, which cats do at night because they're nocturnal. It's so much fun to see her knocked out. However, I love getting out of bed and giving her a little love before I fully get out of bed, right? Pull her to the side, and it's just, she's so grateful, and she gives that love kind of right back. And it's the joy of life. It's the joy of, what's next, going to meditate and then going for a walk. getting some breakfast, going to take care of the horse, coming back, getting some breakfast. There's a happiness in the rhythm that you set for yourself, and it's a choice. You can set a rhythm that makes you feel good, and one that keeps that happiness, that starts that happiness flowing from the moment that you wake up and throughout the day.
That's the way to live. And, there was one other thing that Christopher Plummer's character said that really I would love for over the next week for our listeners here on PRN-FM to ponder how many of us can recall that childhood moment when we experienced happiness as a state of being.
Yeah,
and I
too.
think
yes, that's true. Mm-hmm.
When you can reconnect with that moment, you find that in your memory. It's not about living in the past, but find that feeling, that state of bliss, that state of freedom to do whatever it is that you were in that moment of happiness as your state of being, I think is, I know when I heard those words, oh boy, did it hit me like a ton of bricks. I just was like, wow, there were so many things that ran through my mind. Michael, do you recall that moment, that state of being? Probably your first drum set. Yeah, probably one of your first drum sets. First time you got.
Before that.
No?
Way before that. I had, I enjoyed hanging out when we were in Taiwan. Oh, no. Before that, we lived in Omaha, and I think it was 1964, and we used to go jump the fence into the neighbor's yards and grab her crab apples. We would eat her crab apples, we'd steal her crab apples and eat them. I mean, the crab apple, I never knew an apple, something like that, fruit could taste so good. Coming off a tree. She had like 4 or 5 of these trees, so I don't think she'd miss a couple. But she was so sweet and so gracious in allowing us to do that, thinking that we were actually, sneaking around, and she knew it all along. I mean, come on. There are so many wonderful memories that I have of traveling every couple of years and where we lived. And the day I got my first pair of glasses when I was 7 years old, I should have had glasses from the moment I came out of the womb, but I didn't know any, situations and circumstances didn't allow me to prevented me from getting a pair of glasses until I was 7 years of age. And when I put them on, I climbed up on top of, we had a single-story flat house, so I could climb up on the roof and sit on the overhang over the front door and just kick my legs over and let them swing there. And I go, wow. I was looking at the world in complete clarity, and I was just blown away by it. Just literally blown away by it. I mean, there are events like that in your life that you have, and you're thinking, wow, this is awesome. This is really, life is amazing. Absolutely amazing.
It is. It is. And in the words of the character Angeli, you're going on a journey. Each one of us is going on a journey, and I see you at peace. I see you happy. I see you loved like you've never loved before. I mean, I think that's where we can all be headed. We are all on this journey, and we can all be at peace. And really, we all deserve that state of happiness. And I'll let you close out the show, Michael. I'm so grateful, for each one of you that listen to us here on Connect to Love on PRN-FM. And it's been delightful. And I think we have to continue this conversation because there's still so much more.
It is so true. I think the beautiful one of the lines at the end of the movie was that Hector's world was complex, even chaotic, and he loved it that way. He took comfort in the random patterns of his life, and he listened to his patients with real patience, something with sometimes with surprising results. Everything was up for change. Everything was up for change, including himself. And he learned to love like he'd never loved before. That is what we're all capable of. We're capable of that, of experiencing that in our lives every single day by just letting it happen, letting it unfold, and facing it with happiness.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Michael, and thanks you to all of you. Abundant blessings of great happiness and joy.
Definitely.